Maria Sten says Reacher spinoff is filming soon and will peel back the layers of Frances Neagley. Now that season 3 of Reacher has officially been dubbed a hit by fans and critics, all eyes are turning to Maria Sten, who's been playing Jack Reacher's go-to Frances Neagley in the Prime Video series based on Lee Child's popular books. In a recent interview with MovieWeb, Sten opened up about the upcoming Neagley spin-off series, also noting how pivotal the role has been to her career. "I mean, this role has certainly changed everything," said Sten. "Now I walk down the street and everybody is screaming, 'Neagley, Neagley, can I get a picture?' which definitely hasn't been the case. The shows I've done before have not had the breadth of success that this one has." Sten continued, "Now that they're deciding to do the spin-off, it's of course super exciting. I love Neagley. She's so fun to play and she's so complex. It's layered in many ways, and now we get an opportunity to get to know her better, to sort of peel back the layers. This is the perfect time for a Reacher spin-off." Frances Neagley became one of Reacher's first choices when he launched the U.S. Army 110th MP Special Investigations Unit. She was the only enlisted person to become part of Reacher's elite team of investigators. The chemistry between Sten's Neagley and Alan Ritchson's iconic Reacher was stellar, and the character became a major fan favorite. News of the upcoming spin-off has fans buzzing, and in Season 3, showrunner Nick Santora makes several intriguing and creative choices with the character of Neagley. While she's integral to the plot, Reacher doesn't want Neagley to get too involved in what becomes a covert mission to rescue a former colleague. The action-packed season also stars Anthony Michael Hall, Sonia Cassidy, Brian T., Johnny Berchtold, and Olivia Richters, aka the Dutch Giant. "I think it's exciting," Sten beamed about the spin-off, adding, "I'm just super thrilled. I can't, of course, say too much about the spin-off yet, other than we have a great cast. We're about to start filming, and the scripts are amazing, and we really are just diving into Neagley's world. No doubt it will prove to be as intricate and compelling as Reacher's. It also gives this franchise a major opportunity to expand from Lee Child's original source material." Season 3 of Reacher is streaming on Prime Video. Frances Neagley has always been an enigma. A shadow standing beside the towering presence of Jack Reacher, she is a woman built from discipline, instinct, and principle. But even shadows have depth. And now, finally, she is stepping out into the light. Mariah Sten says we're finally going to peel back the layers. The headlines echoed across fan forums and Twitter threads. It was more than a teaser. It was a promise. A door into the mind of the woman who's never needed to raise her voice to own the room. The woman who can incapacitate a man in a suit without wrinkling hers. The woman who has stood beside giants and still stood tall. For too long, Frances Neagley has been defined by what she does, not who she is. But that's about to change. It starts with silence. Not the kind born from absence, but the one that carries weight. Neagley sits on a rooftop overlooking Chicago's grid of streets below. The city's hum is muted at this height, distant car horns sounding like whispers in the dark. Her eyes scan the skyline, but her mind is turned inward. This is where we meet her, not in the midst of an operation, but in reflection. Because beneath the steely gaze and sharpened skills is a woman who has lived through things most people wouldn't survive. Not just physically, emotionally, morally. She's drinking black coffee, of course. The kind that doesn't need sugar because she doesn't ask for sweet things. The kind that keeps her sharp, awake, focused. She remembers something Reacher once said, "The moment you let your guard down, you lose everything." But she wonders now, what if keeping it up too long means you never gain anything? "People think I'm cold," she says in a quiet moment during a classified debrief. They don't see the difference between control and detachment. Control is what kept her alive during missions gone wrong. Detachment is what she learned after. Not because she wanted to, but because if you let every loss in, you don't get to walk away with anything intact. And Neagley needs to stay intact. For herself. For the people who still rely on her. But lately, cracks have started to show. Not weakness, Neagley would never call it that. But emotion. Memory. Connection. All the things she used to put in a box and bury beneath logistics and protocols are rising back to the surface. Mariah Sten says it best in a recent interview. Frances isn't someone who volunteers herself to be understood. But in this season, we're going to see her walls tested. And maybe some of them will finally come down. The fans erupt. Because Neagley isn't just a side character anymore. She's the story. We'll finally see her before the military shaped her. Before the code became her compass. Who was she before she found purpose in precision? There's a flashback. A younger Frances, 16, standing in the doorway of her childhood home, a bruise on her cheek and fire in her eyes. Her father slams a door behind her. Her mother cries in the kitchen. Frances doesn't speak, she just grabs a duffel bag and walks. No threats. No tears. Just quiet resolve. Back in the present, Neagley's phone buzzes. A familiar name lights the screen, Reacher. She doesn't answer. Not yet. Not because she doesn't want to hear his voice, but because she needs to remember who she is when she's not his second in command. When she's not someone's soldier. Or fixer. Or ghost. Mariah Sten says Frances Neagley is more than the sum of her missions. And she's right. She's the sum of choices few people would dare to make. Of boundaries she had to draw in blood. Of nightmares she learned to silence. Of a moral code that's more rigid than the military ever required because it's personal. We're going to learn why Neagley can't stand being touched. Not just a character quirk, but a wound. A scar from a moment too private for orders or backup. When help didn't come. When trust was betrayed. This isn't just peeling back layers. It's emotional excavation. There's a moment midway through the season that hits like a sucker punch. Neagley interrogates a suspect who trafficked intel that cost innocent lives. The room is dark, lit by one swinging bulb. She doesn't raise her voice. Doesn't flinch. But her words cut sharper than any blade. You didn't just sell information, she says. You sold safety. You sold trust. And there it is. The trigger. Neagley walks out of that room not because she's done, but because she almost lost control. And that terrifies her more than any threat ever could. Because if she lets herself feel all of it, she won't be able to compartmentalize anymore. And that might make her dangerous in a different way. Mariah Sten says this season gives Neagley something rare: intimacy. Not the romantic kind necessarily, but the human kind. A reconnection with someone from her past. Maybe a sister. Maybe a friend. Someone who calls her Franny and lives in a world far removed from black ops and tactical sweeps. Someone who remembers the girl who once wanted to be a veterinarian, not a vigilante. For the first time, Neagley laughs. Not because she let her guard down, but because maybe it's time to redefine what strength looks like. The climax doesn't come in a flurry of bullets. It comes in a quiet moment in a motel parking lot, Reacher beside her. They're fresh off a case, one where she saved lives by trusting instincts over protocol. Reacher hands her a coffee. Black, just how she likes it. You okay? He asks. She doesn't say, I'm fine. Not this time. She just nods. And then, just barely, smiles. Because healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in pieces. In choices. In allowing people in, even just a little. Mariah Sten says we're just getting started with Neagley. And if the season delivers on even half of what it promises, we're about to see one of television's most compelling transformations. Not from soldier to civilian, but from guarded to grounded. From shadow to self. Frances Neagley is no longer the mystery beside the hero. She is the hero. And we're finally going to know her name. Want me to style this as a mock article or lean more cinematic for a screenplay intro? With Neagley. And if the season delivers on even half of what it promises, we're about to see one of television's most compelling transformations. Not from soldier to civilian, but from guarded to grounded. From shadow to self. Frances Neagley is no longer the mystery.